like to call the City of Henderson's March Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, you call it.
Ms. Champion,
Present.
Ms. Gomez here. Mr. Noel will be here in a little while, he said. Mr. Seifert,
Here.
Mr. Venable,
Yeah.
Mr. Davies.
Here.
Ms. Gill.
Here.
Mrs. Walton.
Here.
And we have a quorum. Mrs. Reverend Catherine, Gill, can you give us our invocation and prayer? I mean, our prayer and pledge allegiance, but I will also ask that you would give a moment of silence for, first of all, the Reverend Jesse Jackson and his transition, as well as Lattimore Wright, who was a firefighter, but he was a county employee for 33 years, but Chief Twizzler just explained to me that they worked together back in that day. So if we could just get a moment of silence for those two people. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Let's take a moment of silence for the four named victims. Amen.
Amen.
Let us pray. Father, it's in the name of Jesus that we humbly come thanking you, God, for this day. We thank you for life, health, and strength, God. We thank you, God, for all that you have done for us, Lord. Father, we thank you for wisdom and understanding, God. Father, in all our getting, you said get knowledge, God. So we ask right now, God, that you touch our minds and hearts, God, that we will be receptive of what you're leading us to do, God, and that we will be a united board, God, that we will do what's pleasing and what's right for our citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. This bench will reach you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Miss Councilwoman Catherine Gill. Wanted to welcome everyone here tonight. Thank you all for coming out. This is your city, so we're grateful that you all have come out to be with us. Do we have an approval of the agenda as presented?
I'd like to make most that we accept the agenda.
Thanks. We have a motion on the floor by Council Member Venable, seconded by Councilwoman Champion, Madam Clerk. I will move forward to the consent agenda. Do we have a consensus to move forward?
I'll make a motion we accept the consent agenda.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Seifert, seconded by Mr. Benton.
Yes. Mr. Champion? Yes. Mr. Seifert?
Yes.
Mr. Venable?
Yes.
Mr. Davies?
Yes.
Ms. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Walton?
Yes.
And the motion has passed. Moving forward to proclamations, we have so many for the month of March. I am not going to read all of these, but I will read one or two. The first one definitely I will read today will be Women's History Month. Women's History Month is a time to honor the countless women whose courage, leadership, innovation, and determination have shaped our communities, our nation, and world. Whereas throughout history, women of every background have broken barriers, expanded opportunities, and advanced progress in fields including education, science, public service, business, the arts, health, and civic engagement. Whereas women continue to make invaluable contributions as mentors, caregivers, educators, entrepreneurs, activists, and visionaries whose decisions strengthen families and uplift communities. Whereas this month provides an opportunity to recognize both the achievements of trailblazers who paved the way for change and the ongoing efforts of women who advocate for equality, inclusion, and opportunity for future generations. Whereas honoring Women's History Month encourages all people to reflect on the importance of removing barriers, expanding representation, and supporting environments where women and girls can thrive, lead, and pursue their full potential. Whereas we celebrate the stories, the resilience, and the excellence of women contributions, past, present, and future, continue to enrich the cultural, social, and economic fabric of our communities. Now therefore, I, Melissa Elliott, the mayor of the city of Henderson, now do hereby proclaim that March 2026 as Women's History Month and the city of Henderson. And so, along with that being said, yesterday was International Women's Day. We're not going to read that. It is also National Nutrition Month, World Water Day, Disability Awareness, and Social Workers Month. I'm not going to read all those proclamations. So the next thing we have is recognitions, Mr. City Manager, for our own Corey Williams.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to see if there's anyone in the audience representing Mr. Williams. Yeah.
He coming in.
Very
Coming
good.
in.
Boy, it's good to see you.
Good to be safe.
Boy, I'd like to, first of all, ask if there's any statement or anything that you'd like to say either now or before you leave.
I wasn't prepared for a statement.
Okay, that's it.
It's just been an honor to serve the citizens of Henderson and council and staff and for these past 26 years. So I appreciate it. I appreciate what it's been to me and to my family and so forth. And so hope it's been mutual respect both ways. And so
I don't think there's any doubt about that. 10 years that I spent here working with you have been extraordinary, to be honest with you. I have found your advice and counsel to be irreplaceable. I miss you. I really do.
Yes, we miss you, Corey.
I'm gonna add something here. I don't generally butt in, but I was honored to work with Corey with the planning board. I was honored to work with him in the zoning board of adjustments. I have been honored to work with him as a city councilman for a few years. And I have said to many people, I thought the job that you had, position with the city was one, I've said this to you too, it's one of the toughest ones with the city because most people come in to see him and his staff and not always happy. It's issues they have, things they want done. And he's done it with such professionalism, with such care for the people who are, asking to get something done quickly. And with such diplomacy that, again, saying the word honor to work for you, you always have been an incredible employee for the city of Henderson. I thank you for your service.
Absolutely. We miss you, Corey.
Boy, I have somebody here in the back that I'm sure you're familiar with, someone by the name of Frank Frazier. I'll ask Frank to come up.
It's always better.
yeah, y'all good? He calls the dog.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been a while since I've been up here, but Taylor called me and asked me, about doing this. No, I said, well, how could I pass that up? But I hired Corey in the year 2000. He actually knew someone that was working here with me, Blaine Reese, who's been in North Carolina for quite a few years. And Corey worked with me in engineering for about 2 years. And then, for some odd reason, he wanted to go to planning. I think it was just a better opportunity for him, adding some things. And then, of course, he was in code compliance and then moved his way on up to planning director. And of course, the good thing about it, we all work together. I mean, they're truly a family. And, one thing when we got together, we always talked about family first, so, I sit on a good motion with them. Yeah, we've been working together a long time and it's really been good and, just pleased that, like I said, when Blaine come to me and said, I know somebody that may want to come to work with us here so I hired for her and it just worked out good and, for many years and as Garrett said, he's been a true blessing, to all of us and working with the city and progressing this city as we should be and just want to come recognize that and speak to that, but I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, I really want you to have something to take away with you. And I will be the very first to say that they are inadequate. I will. I want you to say one tonight. I'd like you to know what time it is. And I'd like you to go on a wild spending spree.
Sure, my wife is there, two of the 6 boys are here, and my mother's, I thought I saw my mother.
She's here.
They welcome to. Sometimes they shy.
Where they get that from? Come on, Mom.
Spinning right on it, so. We're all taking it.
I get a quick hug for you disappear. And change your dad.
Hey, Mom. I need some coffee.
Come on.
Thank
I'm on here.
Who are we looking at?
I got 3 cameras on it. Amazing. Love you, Corey.
I would like to know a whole lot longer. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Let y'all do some business.
Wait before.
All right, that is amazing. All right, Miss Joan Robinson, can you come on up to the podium, please? We want to thank you for being an outstanding citizen in our community. Certificate of recognition, whereas Joan Robinson, a longtime resident of Vance County, is celebrating over 30 years of distinguished service at the Kitchell Job Corps Center. Whereas over the course of her decades of service, she has consistently exemplified remarkable commitment to student achievement, career preparedness, and community involvement. Her students are all over this city and county. Ms. Robinson has been an influential role model and served in many different capacities and is currently serving as community engagement coordinator. Whereas she has instituted a work-based learning partnership with the city of Henderson and has cultivated enduring partnerships with many civic and community leaders, significantly elevating the center's visibility and creating valuable opportunities for the students. Whereas her enthusiasm, drive, and genuine care have empowered countless young people to chase their dreams and positively impact the world around them. Whereas she celebrates this significant milestone, her enduring impact reflects the transformative influence of devoted service, education, and unwavering faith in every student's ability to succeed and create positive change. Now, therefore, I, Melissa Elliott, Mayor of the City of Henderson, North Carolina, do hereby extend this certificate of recognition and this Starbucks card to honor Joan Robinson for her exceptional leadership and lasting impact on the Kittrell Job Corps Center. Can we give her a hand clap?
Let's say, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, and guests. I want to thank you for this recognition. But this recognition is not about Joan Robinson. It's about our incredible staff at the Kittrell Job Corps Center, our partners, and the many organizations across Vance County who has made this possible by supporting our students. Again, I want to thank you. Thank you.
For you, Miss Nolan. I'm gonna sit them over here.
Thank you. You see the picture, right? Thank you so much. And thank you all.
Hi, students.
Thank you.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. I'm in that outfit.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, Mr. Jaden Watkins, please come to the podium. Jaden, we honor you tonight. We honor you for your leadership at 17 years old. The ability that you have to galvanize all groups together and keep God first is truly amazing to me. So we want to honor you tonight. And your auntie told me that you love chicken breasts. So I got you a Bojangles gift card, right? Okay. So certificate of recognition. Whereas at just 17 years old, Jaden has emerged as a trailblazing servant leader whose faith, scholarship, and commitment to community service have made him a remarkable force for good, not only with our local communities, but across the state and beyond. Jaden has been to Harvard. He has been to the governor's mansion. He's been all over the place. Jaden is the founder and CEO of Hires Waiting, a nonprofit organization that he has mentored and empowered hundreds of youth through faith-based initiatives, including the Empowered Teen Bible Study and Mentorship Group, which his Bible is written in how many languages?
On the YouVersion Bible app,
Yes,
it has reached 80 countries.
80 countries. Okay. Amazing. Jaden is a published author whose devotional work has reached readers in more than 80 countries, offering spiritual insight and encouragement to individuals around the world. Jaden has served as a youth minister since the age of 9, later becoming an associate minister who has preached revivals along the East Coast while mentoring countless young people and adults. Jaden's excellence has been recognized through numerous honors, including the NAACP Awards, participating in prestigious national programs such as Disney Dreamers Academy, the Governor's Page Program, North Carolina State University Enrichment Programs, and Princeton University Summer Journalism Program. Jaden is a distinguished student leader, serves as a senior and student body president at Henderson Collegiate, host of the Preferable podcast featuring Grammy and Emmy Award winners, assistant stage play director, and a seasonal on-air personality with WIZS Radio. Jaden's life is rooted in the promise of Jeremiah 29:11, which he reflects through his dedication to faith, service, leadership, and advocacy, continuing to break barriers for minority youth while inspiring his peers and walking boldly in their purpose. And for you all that don't know, Jeremiah 29:11 says, God knows the plans that he has for you, that they are good and not evil. You have an expected end and a hope. Whereas Jaden's life, his leadership, character, and contributions exemplify the highest ideals of service and demonstrate the powerful impact of young people across North Carolina. For that, Jaden, we want to say thank you for your positive impact in this community. I, Melissa Elliott, Mayor of the City of Henderson, now North Carolina, do hereby extend this certificate of recognition in honor of Jaden for his outstanding achievements, unwavering commitment to community empowerment, and leadership that uplifts and inspires the next generation. Can we give Jaden a hand clap?
Well, praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord, everybody. Let me give y'all praise in the city hall. I am truly honored to receive this recognition for the work God has allowed me to do. Thank you to Mayor Elliott, the city council, our city officials, and this community that continues to support the work that I do. Thank you to every teen, every business sponsor, every donor, every person who has prayed for me, and those who have simply spoken a word of encouragement. I want to just say this. I may not know what more God has in store for me, but I do know this. He who began a good work in me will carry it on into completion until the day of Jesus Christ. So I want to charge you with this. Keep empowering our community. Keep empowering our businesses. Keep empowering our leaders. Keep empowering the person who feels unseen. Keep empowering the young person who has been told they are too young to make a difference. Keep empowering your neighbor, whether they're Black, white, Hispanic, or LGBTQ. Keep empowering your family. Keep empowering one another, because when we empower people, we strengthen our community. And as long as we continue to serve God and serve the people, the work of our hands will be blessed. We are empowered. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Told y'all he was a preacher.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. Moving along. Okay, Taylor, I think it's time for Christie's water and sewer, presentation.
Yes, ma'am. No introduction necessary.
So I figured, council, mayor, or y'all, I figured since y'all had to listen to me talk last month, I'd bring in some backup this month. John, would you mind? So I have John Sorrell here. He is from Hazen and Sawyer. They have been doing our AIA on our water and sewer infrastructure, which is an asset inventory. And he is gonna give us a little presentation to let y'all know what they found. I'm gonna go sit down before I fall down.
Mayor and council, thank you for the opportunity to come and chat today. This is one of my favorite topics. Geek out a little bit. Please feel free to ask questions, stop me. And before I dive in, I'll lead with, this is something that we regularly do like 4, 6, 8 hour workshops on, because you can really get in the weeds and it's an important topic. I am not going to do that tonight. Nobody's got time for that. But if you have follow-up questions, if you want more information, that's normal. So please feel free to reach out with Christy, and happy to chat further about some of this. Go to the next slide. So as we dive in, anytime we talk about asset management, I like to preface it because people use the term asset management for a lot of different things. And asset management is really a decision-making process. It's how we look at the assets that you have that are required to provide the services that your citizens expect, and decide, what do those assets need? What maintenance do they need? What repairs do they need? And so really, asset management is a decision-making process. And the goal is, we want to plan the right level of service in how do we plan the right level of investment in the right assets at the right time to provide that reliable service without overinvesting or underinvesting. And so that's what we want to look at. We want to make sure that we're providing good, reliable service. Next one. And to answer those questions on what assets, you have to answer a whole bunch more questions. What assets do we have? What happens if those assets fail? Every asset's different. Some of them have big consequences, some of them have little consequences. How likely are they to fail, right? Some of these assets are really old and some of the old stuff is really good, right? We've got to dive into the weeds to figure out what that looks like. We also need to figure out, sometimes we got to go get more data, right? We might not have enough information. And so where do we need to target that data acquisition? We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then ultimately, we're trying to get that into a good strategy for how do we make this something ongoing that we do day in and day out with the operation of the system. And so it sounds like a lot. This is something that I think we all do on a day in, day out basis. A lot of times I'll use the analogy of it's like going to the dentist. We all have teeth. We all know they're important. We know that there are consequences if they fail. And so every day we do a little bit of preventative maintenance, something that we can do that's cheap, that doesn't cost us much, to keep them in good working condition. Sometimes we have to go out and we have to invest a little bit more detailed condition assessment, a little bit more preventative maintenance. And we go to the dentist because we want to avoid the really, really costly stuff. Because if you run your teeth to failure, it's going to be really expensive. And the water and sewer system is really familiar. And so it's a process that's really familiar, and we're just going to apply it to water and sewer today. Get the next one. So I'll talk through at a high level. Part of the asset inventory and assessment is what do we own? So we work with Ian, we work with Christy on what does it take to provide the services that we've got. So 214 miles of water main, 149 miles of gravity sewer main, 19 miles of force main, and all of the appurtenances that go with that. And that's what we generally look at as linear or buried infrastructure. So it's out of sight, out of mind most of the time until it fails. We also have what we call vertical assets. Those are easier to do condition assessment on. You can walk up to them, you can put your hands on them, you can listen to them. And those are our assets at treatment plants, storage tanks, pump stations. So this project was focused a little bit on both, but most of the presentation today is going to be about those buried assets and what we learned there, because there's a lot of data that we've pulled together in working with the GIS team to try to understand what is the condition of those and what is the long-term trajectory of those assets and what does that mean for the city. The table at the bottom really tells an interesting story. So this was our starting point for age and material in GIS, and this is not uncommon across other cities, where you look at what do we know about material, what do we know about age and install date in the system. And across a lot of those assets, we had about 30-ish% of age data. Now, age is really critical. It's a good predictor for condition, but material is important too because every material fails in a different way. So we dove through that. You'll hit the next slide. When we started out, the first thing we did was we took the data and we refined it with what we had. So we have tax data for nearby parcels. For a lot of neighborhoods, you can assume that the years were built around the same time the infrastructure was. We could also take places where we know that's not the case. Big projects where the city did major investments where we can cost effectively mine that data out of plan. So the first thing we did was try to fill those data gaps to get a good understanding of what is the age of the system across the board. Then we worked on calculating likelihood of failure. And so we worked through each of those assets, and we can use age and material as a pretty good proxy. You know, a good water main or sewer main, you could expect 75 plus years of life out of that. Some of the poorer materials, like galvanized or asbestos cement water mains, they might not last as long. So they might be 40 or 50 years. We can layer that in with what's actively failing. What do we know is broken? We can look at soil corrosivity. There are places that corrode more readily than others. And data from the hydraulic model to really start narrowing in on what's likely to fail. And similarly, on the consequence of failure side, we don't do the same thing with every asset. So even if it's likely to fail, you might have a service line in a cul-de-sac that crews can go out, respond, repair it once it fails. And those assets you want to run to failure. That's cost effective. Big major transmission main that's carrying a lot of water, that's under a major roadway, that's going to have disruption to traffic, take out city-wide level service. Those are really critical assets. And so we might invest a little bit more in condition assessment for those assets. We might be a little bit more proactive there because of the consequence of failure. And lastly, we married all that data together in risk and applied some costs to it and said, with each of these assets and how likely they are to fail, when we think that they went in at a desktop level with the data that we've got, what does that look like in terms of estimating the replacement needs for the assets over the long term, right? Because this year matters and what's failing matters, but it also matters a little bit what's coming in the decades to come. And y'all know the cities don't grow all at one time. So you'll have these big booms and the infrastructure kind of comes to failure mode at the same time too, because those waves of infrastructure, like a post-World War II boom, a lot of that will come to fail at the same time. You hit the next slide. So I want to start with water likelihood of failure. So we group these into high, medium, low as we look at likelihood of failure. And what I want you to notice here is a lot of the assets that you have are in that low to moderate risk. We have some assets that are high risk, some assets that are low risk, but the moderate makes sense because you had a lot of growth, assets that are slowly starting to age. They're not brand new. You also don't have a lot that's 75 plus years old, right? There's portions of the city that are that way, that are in that high likelihood of failure category. But overall, the core of the system is something that is aging, but it's not at failure mode today. You hit the next slide. Sewer is a similar story, although with certain sewer assets, we give a much shorter useful life because sewer is corrosive. And so a lot of times your sewer assets will chunk up specifically on the force mains. They'll fail a little bit earlier. And so if you look at the sewer likelihood of failure results, you'll notice on the force mains, we expect a more significant percentage of those to be in poor condition. The saving grace there is, though, they don't usually all age at one time. Those failures happen at the high points. And so with some condition assessment, you can come in and find just the portions that are likely to fail and narrow those numbers down significantly. On the gravity side, a lot of the gravity is holding up pretty well, with the install dates that we've got there. And so generally, this is pretty good news. Go hit the next slide. This is the punchline. And I normally like to lead with the punchline, but I got to get some setup on this today. But when we look at the punchline, the column on the far left, if you see the 2025 there, that's a stacked bar of the estimated replacement costs of assets that are past the end of affected useful life. So you can see the green there is water mains, orange is gravity mains, blue is force mains. Heavy on the water main side for assets that are past the end of expected useful life. Now, a couple of things on this because these are big numbers. These are assets, these are pretty aggressive, conservative replacement costs. So we're assuming for water mains that these are going to be in street, that you're going to have to do holistic replacement, and there's going to be some asphalt costs to that, traffic control. And so we try not to underestimate it at this stage, right? We want to have a fairly realistic number of what these could be. But there's a lot of ways that we can refine these numbers because this is a desktop level study, right? Not every water main fails at 75 years. Many of them will last to 100 plus, depending on the materials and how they get impacted. And so the name of the game from this point is when we look at those assets that are in the 2025 column, how do we refine the data? Because we may be able to cut out a significant portion of those where we can verify that they are in fact in good condition today through condition assessment. Condition assessment is very cost effective on the sewer side because you can put a camera in the main. And so it tends to be about 1% of estimated replacement cost to do condition assessment on the sewer side. So 1% of replacement cost, if you find one pipe that you can save out of 100, it pays for itself. It's a good investment. On the water side, it's much harder to do that because on the water side, they're pressurized pipes. It's hard to do condition assessment. And so on the water side, we tend to recommend focusing in on the data, spending some time doing research from plans, building data on main breaks, and we use the data as a proxy for condition. So when we talk about how do we bring these numbers down, these are desktop numbers. They're intended to be a big picture look and focus our efforts for where it makes sense to spend money on targeting where we might do condition assessment to later figure out how we target an even smaller group of assets for repair. The other thing that I want you to notice is that the bars in 2026 through 2034 are much shorter. Right? These are different waves of time. And if you can imagine, you've got assets that have been reaching the end of effective useful life for many years that are piling up in that 2025 category. And so you're not going to have that many show up that are now. That 2025 category is generally deferred maintenance, right? Those are replacements that could have been done in prior years or could be ruled out with condition assessment. But you see the big spike in 2035. That's where you had a major wave of infrastructure come in. And when we look at this, what I see in this is I see an opportunity to catch up on deferred maintenance before the next wave of failures hits. And so with every utility I work with, that time window is different. And for you all, what I see here is the time window is the next 10 years are really critical, right? What can we do in those next 10 years before that next wave of failing infrastructure hits? The next slide. We'll talk about near-term recommendations. So every time we see these big numbers, we talk construction dollars because we want to know what may be coming in the future. And that's what you saw on the last slide. But we don't ever recommend going directly from a desktop level study into investing in the ground. Like every now and then you'll see something that is so stark that it's like, yes, we can go and we can replace this main because it's got 6 failures on it. We can find those, and I know Christy and her team are working on those day in and day out. But in general, what we recommend is let's hone the data. Let's do some condition assessment where it's cost effective. And that way we can find out that we're targeting those on the most effective places. So on water mains, our first recommendation is we usually recommend to exercise about 20% of the water main valves a year. That's an industry standard. It's a benchmark that a lot of utilities strive to hit. And what that is just getting out, turning the valves, making sure you know whether they operate or not. That's not impacting the condition of the main, and it's not telling us the condition of the main, but what it is telling us is, if this main fails, can I shut it off without impacting a ton of customers? Can I get it shut down quickly and move forward? And so it's a little bit of a mitigation strategy to make sure that any water main failures while you catch up are not as bad as they will be otherwise. The cost that you've got up there of about $100,000 a year, those are typical costs to have a vendor mobilize and go in and exercise those valves. And with the equipment that they use, they usually have a pretty good track record of getting even stuck and broken valves back operating again. But there is always a fraction of those that you find that do need replacement that have to be proven. The second recommendations that we've got on water main, I mentioned it's hard to do condition assessment on water mains. And so we tend to focus efforts on data. And so spend some time refining data in a detailed fashion. So going through plans, figuring out where different materials were used, how thick were the wall thicknesses of the pipe, and really start collecting and refining that data so that you can make sure you don't send a contractor out to replace a main that's in better shape than you thought it was. And so as an early step before we start programming construction, we usually look at where can we refine the data. On the sewer main, the benchmark nationally is usually trying to target about 10% of the sewer system, gravity sewer system, for condition assessment a year. Gravity sewer CCTV tends to cost somewhere in the order of $3.50 to $4 a linear foot, which puts you at about $315,000 a year. And I say start with 10% a year because once you've assessed a significant portion of the system, you learn so much about the condition of the system that sometimes you can ramp those numbers up or down, right? You may get to a point where it's fairly new subdivisions that are left. They're not failing as rapidly, and maybe you can scale down a little bit. Or when you get done with a significant amount, you may not need to go back in 10 years. You may find out these pipes are pretty good. So once you start doing condition assessment, you always adjust these numbers, because you may not need to do as much as you started out with.
Is that done with the contract service also?
It can be, and that's the numbers that I've got presented with clients that I work with. Some people do that internally, some people do that externally, and some people do that with a combination. All those strategies are not common. I think the biggest challenge that you sometimes bump into that is, how do I ramp up and how do I maintain the trained staff when I'm trying to ramp up a program like this quickly? One of the things that we often see clients do to answer that question is they start out with a vendor. while they're staffing and purchasing equipment to be able to take it over in-house and hopefully move forward with it. And so they'll start out contracting out a little bit more and then slowly bridge in the other direction. That's a fairly heavy industry trend right now. At force mains, I mentioned they tend to fail at the high points. But the question is how much of that high point is failing? And so usually this involves digging on the force main. When you go in and do some wall thickness measurements on the metallic pipe and see how much wall is left in the pipe. And then you keep working your way out until you find good pipe, and that targets the areas that may require replacement at those high points. It's a pretty cost-effective strategy. It's a little bit more disruptive than the CCTV because you do have to go in and dig, but it's a whole lot better than just guessing and replacing the whole force main. You hit the next one. The last thing I wanted to talk about is, I always say this when I do these presentations is, this is never a situation that you get into overnight, and this is never a situation that you get out of overnight. And so this is a place that we usually recommend. Let's look at the long picture of what does it look like to change the trajectory of how we operate the collection system and how we operate the distribution system. And so with the incremental condition assessment and slowly moving forward, usually what we see in that first year is moving forward with data updates. You don't see and hear a lot from the council about what's happening. Mains aren't being replaced in that first year. And from a council perspective, that's what I would expect to hear. But as you do CCTV, you're going to find some emergency repairs. And so Christy will probably show up if you move forward with CCTV and say, hey, we found a big hole. And in some ways that's victory because you're out looking for failures so that you can repair them before they impact your citizens. And so usually in that first year, there's a wave of emergency repairs that kind of crop up as you find things that are significant.
Question.
Yes, please.
When was the last time we had a condition assessment? Because I didn't really see that in the graph. Like, when was the last time? Was it 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
That's a great question.
20 years ago?
And I know Chrissy was telling me she's got some ongoing right now through different portions of the system.
I do. We're currently working on Sandy Creek Basin, our problem child. And you may have seen some of the crews out there. We're doing lining, replacing manholes, repairing manholes. We found a significant number of issues, we'll say, out there. I can say that the past 3 rainfalls, Sandy Creek, usually when it starts raining, we start calling the state because she runs over. She has not run over the last 3. I consider that a victory on my part. State real nice people, but the less I talk to them, the happier I am. So that project has been really, really good for the city. As far as the other basins, because that's only one basin for our collections.
Right.
We've got some work in those 2 that need to be done, but Sandy Creek was the one that was hitting us the hardest. So that's what the money we went after was for, was that one. We've got another loan from the state that we need to start on, and that is specifically for the force mains, air relief valves, all of that in the Sandy Creek Basin, which will do, increase us not having to call the state for a SSO. There's some of the parts of the collection system and water distribution that have not been looked at in quite a while. We get in the habit, and Lee can attest to this, we get in the habit of putting out fires, y'all. Whatever hits us first. There is not a whole lot of, we're going out there and CCTV in these lines today. Because most of the time when the guys their feet hit the ground over there at Op Center, they're out putting out fire. We've got leaks here, we've got fire hydrants down here, we've got, sewer running over here. So trying to get them scheduled with the amount of people that we have is hard to get that group to go out and be able to do that. So it's a task.
So we don't have like a scheduled maintenance for each pump station?
Pump stations, yeah. So the lift stations, yes.
Okay.
They go around and check those all the time.
Okay.
But the lines and we're finding in the manholes are our problems.
Gotcha. I saw a guy in a manhole on Booth Avenue today. That's why.
What?
Thank you. Thank you.
An asset management plan such as this should be done how often in a city of our size, or any city really? My guess is we haven't had a plan of doing it every 10 years or 20 years. I'm like a mayor, you know, and
That's
we
a
haven't
great,
done it one.
that's a great point.
On the Sunday ground. And you just don't think about it.
Yeah.
It costly. You have change council priorities and changes all the time. And, you know, honestly, we talk about a lot of things, but we don't get all excited about talking about sewer and water as we should. It's a big cost to the city. So I'm just guessing how often should it?
That's a great question. So a lot of utilities will target somewhere on the order of 5 to 10 years, depending on what's changing. And if you can imagine, if you do the type of data refinement where you're talking about in the first few years where you're getting in CCTV data and you're getting your GIS refined, you may not want to update the whole plan in a short order, but you may want to update the data so that staff can see and report back on, this is what we learned about the system.
Exactly. In this process of doing these repairs and that you do the assessments,
You
you're
got it.
technically creating the next plan or updating what would be the next
Yeah.
plan.
So the hope is that it doesn't become a series of big plans, but it just becomes kind of part of the annual process. What did we learn differently this year? What do we recommend differently as part of that? And every now and then you might want to go through and do a report or something, but hopefully that's not the focus. The focus is it just kind of becomes part of the way you do business. Great questions. So bridging forward, if you kind of proceed and you move forward in the way that we're talking about, you shift from some of the more reactive maintenance, like Christy was talking about, into more proactive maintenance. Just a little more structured, a little bit more planned, making sure you're hitting everything across the board. And so usually year two, I just finished one of these presentations for another utility where we're back looking at the end of the data at year one, and we're talking to council about what did we learn? Some things are a little better than we thought they were. Some things were a little worse. And we've kind of got our first feel for what might be those impactful projects that may make sense to move forward with and program in the budget. And so usually at the end of year one, we start to see that first graph where you saw a lot of money in 2025. Well, we assessed a lot of those assets. Where did that number come down to? And with how that dropped down, we can also look at strategies. It may be that you don't need to do holistic replacement for the type of failures you're finding. You might be able to do small point repairs at a lower cost, and it starts to define what is our strategy for how we move forward. Usually at that point, we have hard numbers. And so it's not like we are today where we're saying this is approximately what it is. We've got real data behind that. And when we start looking at that, usually starting in year three-ish, we're looking at what are our funding needs? What are our opportunities for grant funding? How do we move forward with and how do we structure? And so about year four is when you start to see those first projects completed on the ground, and it starts making a difference in what your citizens see in terms of level of service. And so I said this at the beginning, but this very much is the long game, right? This is how do we do a little bit along to change the trajectory of how the system operates and how we do it. And so you should be getting a little bit better every year because this is a system that's been operating for 70 plus years. And so it's natural that it should kind of move in that sort of scale, right? This isn't something that we move forward with in a year or two and we try to do it all at once and burn ourselves out, but slow, steady progress.
Another question, you talk about funding, and I mean, that varies a lot with this. We have an asset inventory plan. We're moving forward on it.
Yes.
We come up with projects. Does that give us priority or help when we're applying for grants when they know that we have laid out what we know we need and could use some assistance in doing?
Yes. So the state has two primary grant funds in the Clean Water SRF and the Drinking Water SRF for State Revolving Fund. I'm sure y'all are familiar with those. Both of those funds give priority. Number one, you get several extra points for having completed an asset management plan. And so y'all can check that box now moving forward. That's great. That'll automatically give you some points as you move forward. But there's also a narrative portion of those where you're talking about the challenges that you're seeing. And they want to see, are these well documented? Can you tie the grant funding to solving real problems for your citizens? Are you solving overflows? Are you solving main breaks? Are you dealing with aging infrastructure? And so the more you can demonstrate that we're putting this money to good use, the more the state feels comfortable about lending that money and you score higher in their priority system. The last thing that they do look at is they do look at 10-year CIP and long-term funding. And really what the state has expressed to me is they like to see utilities that they're handing money to that they know are going to do something meaningful with it. And so that they're not super happy about lending money to utilities that are going to Band-Aid repair a system. And they're going to be back looking for how do we do this in another 2 or 3 years. And they don't want to lend money to the systems that already have enough money for what they're doing. And so they're looking for that middle ground. And I think that's a place where you have an opportunity to tell that.
And I would say the rates that you're charging your customers comes into play with that too, in terms of your ability to pay or inability.
It does. And so realistically, what we often see is we see these big numbers today, and I don't recommend typically making massive rate swings on these big numbers because they're desktop. So go out and get the data, refine the data, and then at that stage, you've got enough information to figure out what does this look like for this particular case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I know this is overwhelming. I'm going to say one last thing. So this is one of a category of needs. So we're talking about how infrastructure ages. Other categories of needs are capacity, right? Planning for capacity needs today, planning for growth and how that functions. And so all of those kind of come in to make a CIP. And a lot of times we'll do these presentations and the perspective is these are the needs and they're the only needs. And they're a significant chunk and they're worth talking about, worth planning for, but there are other buckets that have to be managed along that. And so I know you hear from Christy about, the needs of the system, but I feel a little negligent if I don't say this is just a piece of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle.
So the $400 and I think $85,000 projected out yearly, that's not a definite number. That's just a projected number so that you can see what the problem is and get rid of that.
So the numbers that we had, the 315 for CCTV, the 100 for valve exercising,
20.
those are pretty real world numbers that you could move forward with next year on condition assessment. If you so those are pretty industry standard. We've got quotes. We know how big your system is, and so those numbers are pretty standard. When you looked at that $115 million in assets that may be past the end of expected useful life in year 2025, those are the numbers that could vary dramatically based on results of condition assessment.
Thank you. Any more questions, council?
I'll see we can get copies of all this.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment items. We have one person signed up, Ms. Shawn Austin, if you could come to the podium and give your name and your address and address. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Shawn Austin, and I'm a member of this community. You said give my address,
Please.
1258 Julius Smith Road, Henderson, North Carolina. And I'm also part of the local motorcycle community. I'm here tonight to respectfully ask the council to reconsider the rule that prohibits motorcycles from participating in the local parade. Many of us who ride motorcycles are deeply involved in the community. I do a council ride every year. Everything I do out of my pocket. The money that's raised, I work with Mobile Firm Health with their cancer department, and I get a client from there. I give them the money and whatever is raised, I don't keep anything. I have also had book bag drives, back to school drives for Vance County, also Franklin County as well. Other motorcycle people that I know, we have also given back as well. They have had school book bag drives, cookouts for kids, charity rides, just different community events. Um. I understand that there may have been an issue in the past, that led to motorcycles being banned from the parade. However, many of us are not a part of that from back then. I'm not sure what happened, but it's a new set of people out here now. It's been a long time ago. I lived in Charlotte at that time when, well, the last time somebody rode the motorcycle parade. Um, we are not asking for special treatment. We are simply asking for the same opportunity as other community groups that represent, that do good work in the community. Our goal is not to cause disruption. You don't hear anything about us around here. I'm not in a motorcycle club, so everything I do, I'm independent. A lot of people that I know, they're independent, but I do know a lot of clubs as well, but they're not gangs. So I just respectfully ask the council to consider reinstating motorcycles in the parade, even if it begins with the 1-year trial with safety guidelines in place. And I would be happy, I'm not losing my voice, so I can talk about anywhere. I would be happy to work with the city or the parade committee to help create safety guidelines that will make this possible. And basically, before I finish, I just want to say, motorcycle riders in the community are not asking to be seen as trouble. We're asking to be seen for the good that we do. Every year we raise money for different organizations and different charities. We ride because we love it, but we serve because we care about the communities. So, because of that, at the end of the day, we're just asking for motorcycle riders. We're your neighbors, we're volunteers, and we're part of the community.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. All right, moving forward to new business, tab 2607-A, authorizing the sale of a city-owned property located at 405 Nevery Street and advertising for upset bids per North Carolina General Statute 168-269. Mr. Mackey.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. You may recall that this was on the prior month's agenda and it was asked to be tabled. We're bringing it back to you. There's a couple of items that have changed. One is that the proposed purchase price has been increased and now matches the original policy that was pointed out. And we've also found that our county building ordinances are such that this lot, if it's deemed buildable by zoning, it will receive a building permit.
Council.
I move to approve CAF 2607-A.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Daly Bakey, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Council Walker. Madam Clerk.
Just a point of clarification, if there's any discussion, now would be the time for discussions.
We understand.
Right.
Thank you. Anybody want to discuss? Yes. Okay.
So do we know exactly what they're gonna use this particular land for?
I can't say exactly, Ms. Champion, but it is zoned residential, so it would have to be some type of a residential home, I would expect.
Any more questions, council? So we have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Bakey, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Walker. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Angelina,
Yes.
Mr. Noel,
Yes.
Mr. Seifert,
Yes.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes.
Ms. Champion.
And the motion has passed. Moving forward to CAP 2615. Amending the city sponsored events 2026 calendar to include bikes, blues, and food. Mr. Manager.
Mayor, this was a request by the mayor's office to have this added to our list of approved and sponsored events for the calendar year 2026. And we have done some research and find that it would carry some cost to the city of about $1,600, not including overtime to our personnel. However, it would add to our downtown venue and would probably draw in, additional, tourists and people who are of interest. So that would be all for your consideration.
Council.
I have a couple of questions. I love the idea of a new event downtown, brings people, always been a big fan downtown. And, you know, I've worked at Smart Star, we did Ducky Derby, well, they still do Ducky Derby, I did it for 15 years. But I remember the process, and we weren't a city sponsored event. So there's a lot of things that we, of course, had to do, but I see most of the cases the city does for an event, which is fine. But I know one of the things with us was insurance. We had to provide insurance liability coverage for whatever may or may not occur. And as I was reading through this, I noticed the insurance company is the city of Henderson. So it's city sponsored events, liability insurance is provided under the city's coverage.
Generally, that is true. Our liability would cover city-sponsored events.
Okay. And I don't have an issue with that when I see they want to have alcohol, and I'm personally not against alcohol, but I know a lot of people give us a hard time on those things.
There's no alcohol in this.
It says there's your event involves the use of alcoholic beverages, yes.
Well, that shouldn't be there.
Okay.
I think for this particular application, it was decided to withdraw the alcohol.
Okay, well, the information I have, because for that, I would say we need to think about our liability because of alcohol, and they change things. But if that's not the case, I don't really have an issue. That would be my question. And I did say it is a nonprofit, is that correct? I assume it's a 501c3 or whatever.
Yeah, I'll ask that question. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it is a nonprofit. Is that what?
No.
Well, my application says nonprofit.
Okay, well, this was a meeting with all department heads. There is a bike ride for Antoine Wimbush every year. Maybe that's what you're looking at. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was put together like that. That's not the way it's supposed to
Well,
go.
we had a meeting,
Okay.
mayor, city council. New process is, Tracy Madigan, downtown development, always have a meeting with the department heads. Because of the same concerns you possibly had, or you were mentioning, we had a meeting about it, and all department heads that was there, fire, police, assistant city manager, as well as DDC, we all said that no alcohol. We had some meeting minutes, I thought it was gonna be in the agenda that I sent out, but no alcohol, and this is gonna be a city sponsored event. One of the reasons why we want to make this a city sponsored event is because of the simple fact that, again, you see that, one of the person that came to speak today is, we don't provide opportunity, and they are valuable people in the community. Or persons or groups in the community that we don't actively provide activities for because of what the perception is. So in order to do that, sorry.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I think it's sometimes they have a negative connotation with about the aftermath, after parade, what may happen, or after event, what may happen. But this is gonna be an event that's gonna be has a set like any other events, providing the same service we do with anything else we do for an event. If I was to do a event on Breakaway Street, it has the same parameter and has to follow the same rules and regulations as any special event.
Okay, so it's not specific organizations asking to do this, it's anybody, it's motorcycles in general can come there. Okay. That's not what this.
It's like a small scale car show, if you
Yeah, I
will.
get it now.
Yeah.
It's totally different than what we got.
Yeah, and
Right.
I'm gonna take that hit. When we turned it back in, we should have changed the application.
Okay.
So, myself and Tracy should have updated the application that said all the changes we made in the application.
Fingers up to my questions, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the other events that we have downtown that do have alcohol, how is that permitted? So we do, maybe he'll explain it to you.
So again, with, other alcohol, they are probably have to get private insurance. I'm gonna let the police chief help me with this one because he regulates them, making sure that they follow the same rules and regulations, but he has to permit it for, ABC, correct? ACLs, ALs, what is it, alcohol, fire, tobacco, all gotta accept it first, but he is the gatekeeper to them getting the license or the certification to serve alcohol. But that's on their insurance, and they have the proper insurance for us to be able to offer that event.
They city sponsored events?
No.
That's city sponsored, I don't see, trick or treat and all this.
Just to add to that,
we got a response back from our finance department that it would have to be added to our insurance for us to have alcohol at the event, so.
And we are looking into it if we were to, because again, a lot of communities are progressing,
Yeah.
and talking to them, downtown development Tracy and looking at other events, and we'll be leaving tonight to go to, New Burns about events they offer. We're gonna ask what regulations they do for some type of event, so we are preparing to change the climate around here for offering more events downtown.
Yes, sir. What did you say?
So I'm certainly pro event, downtown event. I think we should have more of them, and I'm not opposed to, I'm not an anti motorcycle, and I'm certainly okay with adding an event to the calendar. My only concern is this particular type of event just doesn't seem, and I'm reading off of the application that we got between motorcycles, alcohol, bounce houses. So I don't know if this is is this a family event? Is this just folks riding? I mean, it's gonna be right by the library, or you gonna have?
We're gonna be riding, we're gonna be showcasing bikes, antique bikes, bike projects, or bikes, so the nature, they're gonna have prizes. We're gonna have awards for each section of the bike. It's gonna be a small scale car show. We don't wanna break down or block or not breaking Street, but Garnet Street.
Yeah.
But we're trying to store it at a smaller scale because as in that event, that was built up to be what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to encourage us to have events downtown that where folks can patronize the local businesses downtown and not necessarily, I mean, we've already got a car show. I just don't see how this adds, to the public, to the positive perception of downtown.
This is not a car show. This is a small scale.
It's something with a motor and an engine.
Absolutely, but it's not a car, it's a motorcycle. So downtown is gonna be from one end, it's a very small section of Breckenridge Street. We're trying to encourage people to go downtown. That's the whole point of the motorcycle event. There's no alcohol. We're gonna do 5 motorcycles that get a prize, a classic motorcycle, the motorcycle that's the prettiest. There's gonna be a contest, there are gonna be judges. We looked at other communities. All of the department heads are on board. It's not costing the city but $1,500. How much does the Christmas parade cost us a year? Is that about 10 grand?
Yes.
Okay, so the Christmas parade costs us about $10,000 a year. I don't know how much water we use in the duck derby. Chief Twisdale, how much water do we use for the duck derby?
It could vary, probably 10,000 gallons or more.
10,000 gallons or more. We're talking about a $1,500 event for our community members to come outside and have fun, because there are a lot of individuals, not just in our community, but this will bring other people into our community to see motorcycles, to have something to showcase the same way we do the car show, but in a much smaller scale, just to start. I'm just trying to, encourage people to come to our city, particularly to our downtown area. And I think that we should be a little bit more progressive as we look at neighboring communities. Oxford is known for the Hot Sauce Festival. The car show does not belong to us, that belongs to the county. But the city doesn't have one event that really scales us up. And so it was just a thought, and I don't see any danger. There's no.
I just don't see how this scales us up.
Okay, well, I mean, you don't see anything that scales us up when it comes to me, but it's okay.
It just, it just seems to me that, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. So if we're gonna operate like this now, how are we gonna operate when the train come through? Are we still gonna operate in the mentality of 1959? Because eventually, we're gonna have people coming through Henderson, getting off the train to a downtown that looks like it looks. Nothing is going on. A couple of restaurants down there. So are we gonna look like 1959 and 2028, 29?
We also don't
That's
have
my
St.
question.
Patrick's Day this year. I don't know if you all have been made aware of that. We don't have that this year either. And that is a scheduled event on our calendar.
So how much was, did They charge for, was there a charge for St. Patrick's Day?
No, they just, the sponsor didn't come through, so that's not an event for March.
So that, I guess that's just my question. I mean, are we gonna remain back in the days of yesteryear? Or are we gonna try to push forward and do some things different than what we have done?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. There you go. I turned it back on. I, as someone who is 100% for downtown development and downtown economic flourishment, I'm loving all these mentions about leveling up our downtown and doing fantastic things that will bring community members to our downtown area, our beautiful historic downtown area. So just a general question, I guess, for staff members would be, how do we measure the success of downtown events? And in particular, when I think about an event that would kick off downtown Henderson, I wasn't born yet for this period of time, but Color Fest is something that is always mentioned, Color Fest, something that really brought thousands of people to the downtown area. And to be quite frank, I am not sure if Bikes, Blues, and Food gives me that essence, but I would be more than happy to be educated on that if that is what we're trying to do. So again, I return to my initial question, how do we measure the impact of downtown development or the economic impact that it has for our small business owners when it comes to an event?
Well, I can't answer that question for downtown development because I'm just getting into this position, but I'll tell you how we graph success. It's through evaluations of our program for ones who wants to that want to fill out a hard copy evaluation or a QR code that we go around with our patrons. So it's just like with any special event like we do the Trail of Terror on Montgomery Street or King George One Park, we got staff online with Cricket. And if they want to fill out a evaluation, we do, we give them a QR code, they can do it later. Just how we do success. One of the other things is when we don't have the software that me and Tracy are talking about, we put it in budgets called Placer. It tells who comes into that specific area at that time. Other than the police officers clocking cards that they come to circle back around for certain events and doing manual clicks, we really can't tell you that for downtown, but only for our special events. But trying to go to trying to find this software called Placer, it tells you when a person comes to that area and where they go afterward, how the economic road. How it economically impacts. One of the things I do know is trying to eat a lot. One of the things what was exciting to me is I can tell you that if these bike groups didn't support Ruby Tuesdays, it would not be open. Yeah. Talking to the manager when I got there, so it's just one of those things, like you say, you hear a lot of things about Color Fest, stuff like that. That Color Fest was assisted. But it was a arts council event. So I get that a whole lot since I've been here. And we are trying to get back there. Like right now, we're working on budget for a more special event with a special event budget because something like that it's never been concentrated on before. And maybe we get back to it, but again, they got to be back there where we got to start small and offer some things where we can start put things back together. Not work in silos, and that's what we're working on that.
Well, I'm completely amenable to the idea of finding our identity, especially when it comes to downtown and finding what makes Henderson special, as it was mentioned about Oxford and their hot sauce festival. So my question to the council, I guess, would be if the council would be amenable to perhaps entertaining a motion that would treat this as a pilot run for 1 year so that we can then look a year after to when is it, the June 20th or something like that, and see the economic impacts or the overall community impacts that this event may have in downtown Henderson. I believe that in my opinion puts all of our frustrations or concerns to ease, but that's simply.
I think I want to mention, I don't know if Taylor they'll mention this later. We have started back our downtown advisory board, and we have the meeting on March 18th. And this is where those group of subcommittee are going to help us with those things and how we those type of events and how we're going to pull them together if we can put together a coordinated budget on how we can assess this activity and with. Yes, sir.
I just got one question. So I'm actually in favor of having this event. I kind of like her idea of doing it for 1 year, just to see what type of impact it'll have on the community. But I guess what I want to find out from you is that because it seems, according to you, it's a problem with the paperwork where they checked off, well, was the paperwork is checked off alcohol. I know that you said that there wouldn't be any alcohol. I heard the mayor say there would not be any alcohol, but are you telling me that they're not gonna try to add, if we approve this event tonight? That
No. That's, we have, so again, we have a new process with special events. So we have one initial meeting, and then 3 weeks prior to another deadline, we have another meeting to solidify that this is what's going on. The police knows, when they see any alcohol or any things of that nature, they're gonna shut it down based on the rules and regulations we have for this event.
So they're not gonna come back and apply for an alcohol permit later?
No.
That's all.
No. It won't meet the deadline. That's why we did a great job of scheduling when we have the meeting, so you can't come back later and try to do it because it's not gonna meet the ALE deadline.
And being a city event,
And being a-
insurance doesn't cover it, so alcohol is
Also, in being a city event, we can't sponsor alcohol event.
Mayor, you ready for a motion?
And I hope we will look at our insurance and upgrade our insurance.
Yes,
because if we plan on building a pavilion downtown, and events coming to that pavilion downtown, I don't think nobody gonna go down there to that event that can't have a beer or something out there at their pavilion. You go to Raleigh, you go to Greensboro, you go to pavilions, you go to their downtown, people are drinking alcohol.
Yes, Chris and myself, as well as the people on the board,
So I hope we look at that.
Look at those parameters for us to be able to do that. So it ain't been changed yet, but we've done what we need to, what regulations they require for the city to do that.
I support alcohol at events. I just don't know if the combination of the motorcycles and alcohol is a good thing together. That was my concern. That was the reason I asked the question.
Yes, sir. Now, I apologize, we didn't update the application, but again, I'll make sure that y'all get a clean version.
I would like to make the motion we move forward.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Venable.
May I ask a question and see if I discussed, I just thought the idea that Councilwoman Jimenez brought up about any new, we evaluate 1 year, and I think that not just for this, but anything we add as a city sponsor, since we do put it under our auspices, that we just look at it at the end of one event and just come back and say, yes, it's great, and whatever.
I think that's a great idea, and I think we should evaluate the ones that are already on the calendar as well.
Good idea.
Yeah, because we lost St. Patrick's, and I didn't know that till
I'd like to add that to the motion in a second, if that's appropriate.
Okay.
Y'all amenable to that.
Motion on the floor by Councilmember Venable. Who was the second? Me. Councilmember Venable motioned, and with the amendment of Gary saying to reevaluate all programs on the calendar for the city held events. Councilwoman Venable seconded, Madam Clerk.
Chen.
Oh, Ken, sorry. Maybe I need a drink. Go ahead, Tracy. And I don't even drink, but go ahead, Tracy. All the room.
Mr. Noel,
Yes.
Mr. Cypher,
No.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Dankey.
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes.
Ms. Champion.
Yes.
Ms. Gomez. Yes.
And the motion has passed. Moving forward to. Okay, pass 2616, amending Article 3, Section 12 of the Administrative Policy to remove the option of compensatory time. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This particular issue revolves around the city's move towards more automated timekeeping systems that we've been looking into. And I'd like to ask you, if you would, to please table this for tonight. And the reason is that most of the compensatory time that we would have to mitigate in order to move to this new timekeeping system is coming from the fire department. And we held a human resources committee meeting in which we discussed that with the fire chief. However, we found that we overlooked that there are some considerations for the police department as well. Not as great in magnitude, but we want to make sure that the policy change is not adversely affecting them. So if you would please give us that consideration, if you can table it, we'll bring it back to you shortly.
Council.
Chair of the HR committee, I recommend we table this to next meeting.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All right, so we have a Councilmember Dakie says table, seconded by Councilmember Venable. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Seifert,
Yes.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Daisy.
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes.
Ms. Champion,
Yes.
Ms. Gomez, yes. Mr. Noel.
Yes.
And the motion has passed to table Act 2616 move forward. Tab 2617, intent to create interlocal agreement for the centralized development services requested by our city manager. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is largely a representative to you of the concept of bringing our development services together with the county's building inspections under which we contract. But we've got a very different place we would like to address or to put that combined service. And we're finding that it actually will save both the county and the city some funding. So with that, I've asked Bob Roush to join us tonight. He was kind enough to consent to do so, and to see if you might have any questions of him, and he might have a few comments for us.
Really? Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Good to see you all again.
How you doing, Bob?
I'm good. Thank you. So far. Okay. So as you know, Vance County is very interested in making this unified development go forward. With all the growth that's taking place, we feel it is an important concept that we need to get through. And we can do more when we work together than if we were separated. So I just wanted you to know that we are seriously interested in this project, and what I heard the last time we were together, I didn't hear many people say here that they didn't like the concept. I think there were some issues that upset some people, but the concept, I think, was well received here by most folks. So I'm here tonight with a second proposal for the council, which we hope will be acceptable to you and work out well. As you see, this is the second proposal, and we are located at 305 Young Street in Suite B. We are located in the first floor of the building. Let's switch that, please. And this is pretty much a drawing of the first floor and what we occupy. And what you're seeing here is office space created. And Vance County will create this office space in a shared conference room, which you see, for the city employees. No cost regarding this upfit and change will come from the city. Second, we proposed a 10-year lease at no rent for the city for that time. And then also all the utilities will be prorated between the departments. The county will, with the added space here, we are going to have to upgrade our internet system. That will be all handled by the county, no expense to the city. And what we had asked and we have looked at was we are going to be short on parking in this area. You go on. Existing right now, we have 15 spaces in this back lot and 2 handicap spaces. We have proposed to add another 10 parking spaces to this area. If you go to the next slide, sir. They'll be located near the Jernigan's tire side. And we put 10 spaces there. That would be for parking of city and county vehicles, so that we leave space up towards the entrance for all citizens to be able to come in and do their business. So you can see there are 2 handicap spaces. We're just moving them around a little. And Paylor has proposed marking the side of Walnut Street as parking, parallel parking, so that even more people can access the business. They have a choice of going in a parking lot or on the street. It is completely up to them. So We are planning on doing the upfit, spending all the money on that. We expect to spend $100,000 on our side. I see Taylor has proposed, the parking, some of the parking, changes that we need. I think his, expense is a little bit high, his estimate, but, we're here to discuss whatever it is, your questions you have going forward. And hopefully we can get this going.
Now, question from Taylor, our cost, it looks like to have a one-stop shop, which I think is great, work with the county, get the business. And what wants us to go in there is nothing but just to upgrade these 10 spaces, and that's what you've got is up to 100,000. Will it take that much money to pay that and more?
It's actually more spaces than that,
Okay.
even though that's what's on the county parking lot would be an additional 10 to 12. And Bob mentioned the fact that Walnut Street would be striped, but we're also looking at Montgomery, which is on the far left of that particular exhibit.
Okay.
And there would be a set of steps that would go in, what I'm proposing would go in to help access across the county parking lot from Montgomery.
Right.
And all total, that would bring the, I think, additional parking up to almost about 50 spaces, which should be, I think, more than adequate. Also, the reason I had put the 100,000 in was in case we needed to resurface the parking lot.
And I can tell you that, looking at the parking lot, we have went over it, Frank Mills is here. And there will be no need to, do a complete overlay on that parking lot. There will be some small asphalt that is needed to extend the parking spaces, some to add a little bit more room, but there will not have to be a complete parking lot, renovation done.
Councilman Chapter?
So I need you to make me understand. We went from a 20-year plan where the county wanted to utilize the city building to a 10-year plan with the county in which the city pays the parking space. But still, there's no mention about the money that the county is getting from the inspections that's being done in the city. So are we buying this building or are we just doing a parking lot?
Well, I can.
And one other thing, do we have anybody that does asphalt within the city or the county? Do we have to do a private someone to do this? Because for some odd reason, I just don't see how we went from a 20-year plan to a 10-year plan, and now you're talking about $100,000. Something ain't adding up to me.
I believe I am being generous, as Bob mentioned about that figure. It probably will come in for less than that. As far as asphalt goes, I think our Public Works Department does have the ability to do some asphalt work, but we probably would be better off contracting it out in this case. As far as the 10 years is concerned, that was intended to be a stop to give us the opportunity to pause to see if we want to continue in that location. But I was also asking for a renewal as well.
So how come we can't do a 5-year plan instead of a 10-year plan? And are they going to give back to the city any of the money from the inspections that they are doing?
I can answer that. I don't know.
And if not, why?
I don't know if you've seen this. It was presented to the mayor. And I'll hand it out to you so you can see all of the revenues. We want to make sure that it's completely understood how the revenues sharing works with sharing. So I know that you're, have brought up last time that you feel that the county should share in the permit revenues.
And I do.
For the city.
And I do.
Okay? And if you look at this sheet that I passed out, you'll see that the county's budget for inspections, and that figure is circled, is $506,676. That is what we budget to run the operation for the year. Okay? And if you look down in the bottom columns, you're gonna see the revenue that was generated over in 24. The city took in $118,796. The county took in $187,000, which came up to roughly $306,000. So as you see, we have a shortfall of close to $200,000. So just in that year, and if you look at the other years, 25, it's 363,000 total, 147 of which was the cities. So again, we lose another 133,000. So I'm kind of don't understand the concept if we are providing all of the service, no services provided by the city for this, why you would expect us to get revenue when we're losing.
This is how I believe it should go. And it's just my opinion, but that's the way I believe it should go. If you're doing inspections for the city, the least that you all can do is let us know on a running tally how much it is for each month.
Yes, ma'am, that report is supplied to the city monthly.
Right. So I still say, if you're doing a certain amount of inspections for the city, then I feel like the city should be getting some type of revenue from you all.
How would you propose that with the figures that you see in front
I
of you?
guess we have to sit down and have a conversation. I think it needs to be a conversation in which some members of the council sit down other than Pell.
And again, we have had these discussions about having the city do their own inspection department.
Right, so let me chime in right there, Bob. Thank you for that. You gave me a segue. So I don't know if my colleagues have seen this, but this is how you become an inspector in the state of North Carolina, okay? It takes 3 years to become an inspector full-fledged with all levels, okay? Hold on. We have 2 people on staff here that have levels. They don't have all the levels that Bob had, but we talked about this 3 years ago. So think about 3 years ago, and I'm just saying it's moving forward, right? Tonight, we have the proposal, it's you all's decision, but moving forward, right? The city is inevitable to grow. The North Carolina State professor told us that in the state of the county. We are going to grow. To sit back and wait on, and I love partnership, Bob, you know that. I only asked y'all for 10%, and I did 10% so that it could go into our downtown, what do you call those things? Facade grants. I said 10%, and they was like, oh, that's only $12,000. We could give you that. So I said, maybe they can up the facade grants by maybe $7,500 versus $5,000, because everybody at this table has the same, I think the same heart for downtown, which is suffering majorly. So I just want to say that moving forward, council members, because the city is going to grow, think about it. I don't know what levels we do have, but I know 2 of our inspectors have levels. How many more levels does it take for them to become the inspector, like Bob? There's only a certain number across the state. There's a listing of them, what is about 35?
That have my credentials in the state out of 5,000 inspectors, there are only 419 of them.
419 of them. Now, if Bob passed the test, understand that there are other inspectors that can pass the test as well. So I just want y'all to think moving forward that we have people on staff, and I want to say Urban is young and probably would be more than willing to go to school. I signed up for a class and took it. It's not hard. So just think out, y'all. That's all my cry is tonight. Think out. I love collaboration, Bob, but I still feel like the city should be able to gain something. And you all said when I met with you that would be not a problem. And I love this idea, but I don't have a vote. But I'm just saying, moving forward, the city should really think about how they're going to have their own department. You're going to have 400 houses come online in the True Value Project, right? True Homes Project. There are things that are continually to grow in this city, and to sit back and think that the city can't hold its own. I think everybody at the table needs to say a prayer about that. But thanks.
I answered what you just said.
What was the question?
Okay, you were talking about how long it takes the inspectors to obtain all of that.
Yes.
In fact, I am working with Urban to help him to gather his levels.
Awesome.
So it takes 3 years at the I don't know anybody who's obtained all level threes in less than 5 years. They have shortened the time up, but to take 15 state tests, it's gonna take close to 5 years to get.
But remember, Bob, I just said that two of them have levels. I'm not
Yeah,
talking
they
about
have
somebody
a
starting from scratch.
Level one, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Level one in only one trade.
Bob,
I'm sorry.
No,
let
I'm
me,
sorry, I just need to.
And what I don't want anybody in this room to think that Vance County does not want the city to have their own inspection department.
Okay.
We have assisted when this came up before, gave you all of the information to make an informed decision. We are not standing in your way. We would hope that at some point, the city has their own inspection division, collects all of their revenue, but we're still all in the same building working collaboratively. So we do not have any intention of stopping you from that. We want that to, believe me, I want that to happen. As the chief inspector, I would love to see that happen.
That was one of my questions, that we can still do move as we have more housing and have more inspections. We could at some point, and then we know what the contract's about, because we've been through that, state that we would like to go ahead and move forward with our staffing as we got that far.
Absolutely.
Collect that, and still be in one stop, which is what we're trying to do for the public and everybody.
We have the room, if you had one or two inspectors plus your two code enforcement.
And my other question is, I was doing some reading on it, electrical is one of the different levels people have to reach, right? Really tough. The reason my dad was an electrician, so I kind of got looking into it. I saw the first time people go in and they're trained to take the test for the electrical, what was the passing rate?
There is an 11% pass rate for electrical.
It's hard.
It is extremely difficult.
So much.
It's the hardest of all trades to pass,
Yeah.
and it also makes most people give up on inspections. Because most smaller jurisdictions have multi-trade inspectors because they cannot afford to have single trade inspectors. You see that in the city of Durham, you see that in the city of Raleigh. I come from a good sized city, but we had all multi-trade inspectors.
But you passed, right, Bob?
Yes, I
That's
did.
my point. That
I
means
did.
other people can
I'm
pass
not
too.
saying that anybody can. But it takes,
They gotta study. I mean,
takes a lot.
do it, council, questions?
Can I have the
Discussion.
floor, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Well, Bob, first and foremost, it's such a joy to see you again. Thank you so much for your presentation. I respect your professionalism and the time that you and Taylor and others that I may not mention have put into, this Plan B. So that makes me really happy. And again, I respect that. And before I proceed with my comments, I would also like to express my gratitude towards your county manager and county commissioners for your willingness to still work with us, right? Especially after February 9th. That's very commendable. So thank you so much for a word that I've heard a lot in the past few minutes, your partnership and collaboration. I really appreciate that. As I sit here and I review, I'm thinking about February 9th and what was proposed at the old municipal building. And I'm thinking about this presentation for 305 Young Street as well. And right off the bat, I have to say, fantastic job. I think that you and Paylor have done great. And your county manager, county commissioners, not sure if they were involved, but thank you either way as well. And you know what I love about this Plan B? I love how much money the county is saving its county residents, which, by the way, City of Henderson residents are also Vance County tax-paying residents. You were going to invest almost or at $300,000 at the old municipal building, and you just mentioned a few minutes ago that we're looking at around $100,000 from the county, not the city, to upfit your current office, which is great. That's a $200,000 decrease, which is fantastic. But then I look at this through my city councilwoman lens, because although I can respect what the county does, I also have to look out for the best interests of the city of Henderson. And I understand that Paylor has given us a little bit of an exaggerated price for this parking lot at 305 Young Street, or the renovations of the parking lot, which we're looking at perhaps $100,000. That's good. But what's not good is the fact that we are having to foot the bill for a parking lot or parking lot accommodations that we never intended to do, at no fault to the county or our amazing staff members, but at fault of what happened on February 9th of 2026. Again, $300,000 investment for a city-owned property, one of the most beautiful and historic buildings. Chief knows that I'm biased when it comes to that. 6 office spaces, a storage space for our hardworking fire department employees, and a shared conference room, which I think we're still getting at the new place, just no storage space for fire department. And no expenses by the city that we were already going to make because the parking lot was going to be the embassy block parking space. I'm not sure if that's the official name, but it was the embassy parking lot situation that was actually passed a year ago on November 12th of 2024, a year and 4 months ago. So as I look at this, I can admire what the county has done, but I can't say the same thing about the city. And I mean that in a very, I wish I didn't have to say this, right? I look at this and I'm in awe, not in a positive way. In a positive way towards you in the county. Let me clarify that a lot because I for one, I myself want to work with the county commissioners and your colleagues. So what did we do on February 9th? And what it seems like we continue to do is want to gamble the benefit of the residents of the city of Henderson and Vance County for the sake of revenue. So let's look at that fantastic revenue. Let's look at that. And you mentioned this at the county commissioner meeting last Monday, 35% of permitting is done in the city. It doesn't make up most of your permitting processes, and it also doesn't make up most of your revenue. So I think it's kind of unfair for us to be asking for revenues, and that's just my humble opinion, and others can have their own humble opinions, and that's the essence of life. 35% of permitting is done in the city. Fantastic, wonderful. And county city manager, feel free to stop me if I say something I shouldn't be saying, but at our city retreat, our first city retreat day, there were some side comments about 12.5% being negotiated with the county and how we were going to get anywhere from $18,000 to $20,000. And there was also their side comments about how city council members who voted on this on February 9th in support of this were unintelligent, not business-minded people. But then I look at this proposal, and this is wonderful, intelligent, business-minded work on behalf of the county, but not on the city. This doesn't look good for us. That's just my opinion. So my question tonight, I guess, to my colleagues would be, are we going to just be okay with the loss of investment on February 9th, be happy with a vacant building and the loss of momentum on the embassy block parking lot? By the way, this was presented to us at a retreat, the Henderson Vance Economic Development Commission Business Recruitment and Retention Recommendations. One of the questions was for our downtown businesses, what are the most pressing business challenges facing you? One of them was declining sales followed by lack of parking. So we talk about downtown development, but what are we doing to actually target downtown development? February 9th, Old Municipal Building would have targeted many things. It would have strengthened our partnership with the county, which we can still do tonight. Would have strengthened our partnership with the county. It would have increased foot traffic to our downtown. It would have pushed and incentivized the city to begin the work of this parking lot that was passed a year and 4 months ago. And I understand that local government or government in its whole essence can work slow. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when I got on council, I was given a list of priorities from Taylor, which I really loved. And one of those being the Orange Street redevelopment project, a project that was finalized in 2001. And I sit here and I say, are we going to contribute to that cycle of stuff that just gets pushed back to the next council? You guys deal with it just for the pure fact of self-serving decision making. When we do that, we leave our citizens hungry for proper leadership, hungry for conscious decision making, and we leave them hungry for progress and development. And I digress. And I love this idea. I support it 100%. Thank you for your time.
Council, we're having more discussion. A
One question.
20-year lockdown is definitely not forward thinking. But go ahead, Mr. Noah.
Bob, can you refresh my memory? Because it's been about a year since we were talking about the city moving forward, doing its own inspections. And so it's been a while since I've seen the numbers, and I'm hoping you could just refresh my memory because I know you probably know this off the top of your head. But I'm looking at the revenue that we took in, well, that the county took in from for inspections in 2024, 2025. The most being $147,000.
That's correct.
In order for at this point, in order for the city, if we're going to look at moving forward, I know you made a comment that you were helping Taylor with that process, and you definitely wanted to see the city be able to move forward.
I do.
But how many inspectors would we need to be able to handle the inspections in the city of Henderson, all of these inspections? And what is the average salary of those level 3 inspectors?
I have a question, Ms.
I
Noel.
can give you that information. I would estimate if you had one inspector who had all level 3s, that would be all that you would need, plus a permit tech and software. So somebody that has my levels is over $100,000 salary per year. Permit tech is approximately $40,000 a year. And the software, because we are just going to new software, we'll sign a contract hopefully tomorrow. That's costing us $28,000 with $20,000 as a yearly cost. So that is what it costs to get you going at this point.
So based on the revenue coming in now, the city would be losing money the same way the county is.
They would be.
Okay.
So Bob, this final budgeted item for $506,000, is that including both county and city, or is that just for the county?
No, that 506,000 is my operating budget for the inspections for the county, but it does include your inspections. The inspectors, I have one position that is vacant at the time, but we have one other level 3 across the board who does most of your residential inspections, and I do most of the commercial inspections, plus all of your planning.
Right, so again, moving forward, thinking forward, Corey's position is open. If a development services director had the levels and the inspection that Bob had, I just think you all need to think forward. This is not about a small amount of money. This is not about taxing taxpayers. This is about progressive thinking that the city is inevitably going to grow. No matter how we talk it up, it's going to grow, it's going to get bigger. A $506,000 budget for the county, which he's saying is just basically budgeted out for the county. The city is contributing because we are getting inspections, but they're also getting paid for them. So it's not like, I just wish everybody would think forward. We have 2 open positions in development services, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 open positions in development services. We don't have anybody that have the credentials of Bob. Bob is willing to train. I love it. I love collaboration, but I really want us to see the bigger picture that it is possible and it can be done. If we're looking at $506,000 for 2 entities, split it in half, and will we still actually lose money? The county is much bigger than the city. Think about the square footage of the city versus the square footage of the county. Think about the businesses in the city. I just want y'all to see on the bigger, and I digress, but you got to see bigger than what you see today, because what's about to happen in this city is going to boom. It's going to get bigger, houses are going to be built, businesses are coming, and it's fine to work with. Collaboration, I love it. But what happens if there is no more Bob? We got to think cross-train, people having the ability to do the job. Corey is gone. No one in development services can do his job. That doesn't make any logical sense. Nobody can do Corey's job, but probably Bob.
Well,
I'm just saying, we got to think logically here.
When Corey retired, it was a big loss for us at the county.
Absolutely.
We depend on Corey for all of his knowledge and help. But again, through time and through everybody being together, we're gonna be able to work through this. Because, and I agree with you, Madam Mayor, that there is a lot coming into the city.
Yeah.
But you would have to, let's just go with this year's revenue. You're probably gonna come in on the fiscal year at about $150,000 revenues. You just have to figure out if that is gonna be enough for you to make your own inspection department or not. And
We have
will
to
be-
include fire inspection, see, that's
No,
not
fire
on this
is
list.
separate.
It's
Fire
separate,
is
that's what I'm saying, but
separate.
it's still an inspection. So we don't see the full purview of everything. But council, how would you guys like to proceed?
But
I'd like to add
so-
something else. I've been listening to all this, and it's all wonderful. It's nice to get really informed here, because we don't always get this much. But I think there are a couple of things, thinking forward, we looked at this a year or so ago, and then we changed our minds, et cetera. I was saying then, as I looked at numbers and growth, we're 2 to 3 years away, maybe 3 to 4, where we may have those numbers, as you said,
They
that
come.
would encourage us with the dollars to do our own. As you're saying, we can do that out of one single building and still serve the public the way we want. The other thing I'd like to ask you, Bob, is that at the other Plan A, as Mr. Jimenez said, and also in Plan B, we're getting 5 spaces that's gonna keep us from having to be overwhelmed in this building. We are full. Our past manager made some inroads, and we've got to build a new building. I like freaked out because we got a fire station to build. We've got Dabney Drive coming in. We've got other big projects we're working on. And then really at the point we're gonna have to demo some building and all to add spaces, positions down the road. This frees up folks to be outside of this building, so we don't have to look in the short term big costs for a new city hall, which I don't think we can afford to do with all the other problems. So I think it's been lost and all the benefit here, that we're getting space outside this building where we're actually very tight. So, and that works to be the plan, but let us not forget, there's something additional for the city here, space that we're running out of. I'm finished, thank you.
Council, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make
Any
a
more
motion to
discussion?
proceed on this presented tonight.
We have,
Second.
we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Dakey, seconded by Councilmember Noel. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Venable,
Yes.
Mr. Dakey,
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
No.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Champion,
No.
Ms. Gomez Jimenez, yes,
Yes.
Mr. Noel, Mr. Seifert.
Yes.
And the motion has passed. Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome, darling. All right, CAB 2618, authorizing the sale of city-owned property located on Young Street, identified as PIN 0004-03017. Subdivisions A and B, and advertising for upset bids per North Carolina General Statute 168-269. Mr. Manager.
Mayor, this is sponsored by the city clerk's office. And I'll let her speak first. I said, this is sponsored by the city clerk's office, so I will let you speak first.
Well, the only thing that I have to say about it is that we got the offer and from there, if you want to talk more about the property that we had to split, I can't really speak to that.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, this is the old Faulkner complex that actually fitted into the prior location for the combined services. And we have, the city purchased that property back last year. We have recorded a plat that provides for setting up 2 small office buildings that exist now on the complex. They actually sit at the very entrance to the old Faulkner warehouse, and they front on Young Street. And I believe Mr. Joe Faulkner is in the audience tonight in case you have any questions of him, but he is actually the party who's made the request to purchase these 2 small properties. I think some of it may be nostalgia, his father or grandfather ran that particular property. But if you have any questions of either of us, I'd be happy to try to address them.
I have one. I was going, me, I'm always wanting to know we're getting a fair offer for what, but these aren't actually on the tax books as separate offices at this time. They're part of the bigger project.
That's correct. They were part of the Faulkner warehouse complex. And I think that and Joe can probably better answer this, but I think they were actually set up as checkpoints. So when you came in to get materials, you came out and you presented your receipts and that.
I've been in one, Killian Engineering was in it at one time, and it ain't much, it's just walls and ceiling, it's just very bare. I had another question, I wonder what it was. This also would give us revenue towards, we're looking at $300,000 to get that parking area and all the roof down and get it done. This would give us $100,000 towards that project?
Yes, sir. Yes, I thought that the offer was quite generous, actually.
Taylor, what's the tax value of those two properties?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, the two small parcels, it's hard for me to say because they never have been subdivided before, but I would guess probably the tax values on them are somewhere around $20,000 a piece, maybe.
Oh, well, thank you much. And that was my other point. When now they're purchased, they will go over the books as property that will raise revenue for the city and the county.
Correct.
So. that's good.
Anybody else? Council? Motion?
Make a motion, we approve.
We have a
Second.
motion by Councilwoman, for Mayor Pro Tem Walker and who's seconded? Councilmember Venable, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Champion,
Yes.
Ms. Gomez Amina. Yes. Mr. Noel,
Yes.
Mr. Cypher.
Yes.
Mr. Gunter.
Yeah.
And the motion has passed. We have public comment period on non-agenda items. And the first one on the agenda is Mr. Russ Barbario. If you would give us your name and your address, please. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Okay, Russ Barbario, I live at 2100 Coleman Place. And I've been there for 42 years, so it's great. I just love it. I've been to Henderson 4 years ago and it would be the better place to be. But there are some things that have to be addressed. Every day I drive to work in Oxford now, and every day I drive down, enjoy the nice drive down, except for some of the things I see close to me. And I have 3 different things, and they're all kind of interrelated. The first thing is it's very distressing. When I go down to onto Lynn Avenue, I see so many cars parked on the lawns. And so many cars that are just, there couldn't be that many people living in some of those houses. Which sometimes up to 6 cars on the lawns, on the driveway, 1 in front of the house. And you probably already know some of the detriments of that, but I'm gonna read off a list here. It says, the problem is it endangers access, any emergency vehicles or anything that had to come through there sometimes is so narrow, especially when lawn cutting time and all the trailers are there. And sometimes you have to actually drive off the road on the other side. And it creates a very dangerous situation. Second thing is pedestrian safety. It's narrow roads, parked on the cars parked on the side, and people walking. And it can be a very dangerous situation. And the next thing is the value of property is going to reduce. It's very unsightly, and it's just a shame to look at it because some of these cars have been parked there for years. And the last thing on that list is that the drainage is affected by cars parking on the grass. It compacts and it's terribly unhealthy. And I think there's something on the books. My wife used to be on the Cleanup Henderson committee and they had something that I remember that it's illegal to do that. But it just doesn't seem to make any difference whether it's illegal or illegal, and correct me if I'm wrong. And I think something should be done about it. Lynn Avenue leads into Coleman Place. And I think it's a very beautiful area. It always has been. But we have a pothole problem. And the problem seems to be worse there than most any other street I've seen for that short, it's a very short street. 20 some houses in that area, Sydney and Sydney Hill. So the pothole problem isn't the real problem. It's what's causing the potholes. And the potholes are caused by that road that is absolutely deteriorated. My neighbor who's been here longer than I have, Mr. McDaniel, says that he's been there almost 50 years. Wow, that was and nothing's ever been done, and the road is absolutely falling apart. On the edges, in the middle, if you go down there, you see that pieces of the road are just disappearing. And so it's going to be one big pothole. So Since my time is up, I'll just close by saying, I think the council should use their influence to take a look at it and see what can be done.
Thank you, Mr. Barbario. Our city manager will.
Okay, and I'm gonna just, for what it's worth, there's a lot more that I could say. I'm just gonna pass out. And which includes some pictures of some that I took today of the cars on the lawn. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barbario. Thank you.
Mr. Barbarian, if I may, you're correct, there are some ordinances on my books that I think may be able to help. We'll send development services out to this location and take a look at both of those.
I appreciate that very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barbario.
You're quite welcome.
We would have Mr. Phyllis McDaniel, please come forward, state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You're welcome. City council members. My name is Felix McDaniel, 2101 Coleman Place. And I'd like to echo what Mr. Barbario said about our street. It's actually crumbling as I speak. And I'd like to the city to consider repaving that. I've lived there 52 years. Nothing has ever been done to that street. No paving has ever been done, and it is literally falling apart. So I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you.
As a side note, my wife signed that seal, Jan McDaniel.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. McDaniel. Ms. Delbon Williams, please come forward, state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. I'm Daryl Von Williams, 127 Granite Street, but I'm here regarding 303 South Garnet Street, which is the old Leggett Department Store building. And in April of 2025, my fire department came in to do a routine fire inspection, which consists of getting my space, which I had allowed to get a little cluttered. But one day later, they shut my business down. My business has been closed. If you notice downtown, and yeah, I'm gonna pat myself on the back, cause I made that. Okay, downtown is a desert right now. There's like nothing happening downtown, because you guys don't like junk, and especially when I put it on the sidewalk. But it's paid for my building. I bought that building in 2019. December 2024 was paid for in full. So somebody likes junk. I'm a senior citizen, and what I did was I didn't make it pretty. I didn't do my doors and my windows because I was busy trying to pay my mortgage. That done, now I have the money to make the repairs. And I have done wonderfully, but I did it in the dark. I think it's been unfair the way you treated me. I am so sad. You know, and I've done so much for this town. I'm not appreciated. Yeah, my personality is a little funky, but I do good for the children, for the seniors. I sell on consignment for 197 people. I've sent a lot of their stuff packing because I had it piled up because I found a buyer for my building. But I lost the buyer when the fire department came in and took my meter off the building. So what I'm saying is, I want you to be fair with me. Okay, I want my building open again. Yeah, I'm getting ready to retire. You see, you didn't see me there all winter because I hibernate in the winter. But now that if the weather has become closer to my age, I want to go back and make myself a little bit of money so that I can go to the coast. But I just don't think it's fair what you've done with my building. I don't think it's fair. You haven't done that to anybody else. So I don't know why I'm so special. So you were supposed to have addressed this the last time I was here, and the time before I was here, and the time before, when you're having meetings. You sent me a letter over the winter, and it was a certified letter, and you let one of the little derelicts standing in front of my table. You know, I give them stuff. So they stand there and pick through clothing and stuff. She signed for my certified letter, which means that you sent it to me in January. I didn't get it until February. But I still ran, as a matter of fact, I think Mr. Pratt, I ran and I said, okay, guys, I'm ready for you to come in and look at me again. But every time you come to look at what I've done, even the fire department says, well, okay, we're kind of proud, but they escalate. They give me another list, and that's not fair If you give me a list, let me do it in the dark. I'm bad to the bone, you know that. If you put me in the dark, I'm still going to get it done. And I have got it done. But it's not fair that I make repairs to this building, okay? And then it's not enough. So I want you to be fair to me. Your downtown is important. It's your other merchants are suffering. Talk to them.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
All right, we have reports. Mr. Manager.
Yes, ma'am. I have only a few things I'd like to announce, if I may. The opioid litigation settlement has actually provided some additional, announced some additional distributors that have paid into that fund to the tune of about $100 million. Now that is spread over a large area, but it looks like the best estimate we have right now is probably the city's going to receive about 20,000 a year going forward. Not a huge amount, but it can be put to good use. There's a handout that was provided, I believe, at the beginning of the meeting to you, a letter that had come from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And we wanted to alert you that Franklin County has asked for and petitioned the Army Corps to begin the process of looking at storage allocation, reallocation within the Car Lake Basin, which means they're looking to withdraw water from Car Lake. This process is going to take some time, but this is the first step in that process. There will be a public meeting held at the Warren County Army Civic Center, and that's going to be on March the 26th, beginning at 6 p.m. That meeting will be, as I understand it, available for the public to review online through Facebook. The city and others are going to have to respond to this particular letter by April the 6th. And we intend to participate and will be part of the process as it moves forward. I'd like to ask Kendrick to come up and see if he has any further updates for us on American 250.
Well, Chrissy, so I was at a conference last Thursday, and Chrissy sat in with me. We've been working diligently on ensuring that we are only doing what we was asked to do and what we are capable of doing. But I did turn in my list of approximately 8 to 10 activities, events that we're doing throughout this whole year, 2026 for America 250. Other than that, we're supporting activities, bringing in programs and special events for America 250. But again, that's where we're at, and the system with banners being put up. But the county is responsible for purchasing. The county is responsible for getting the approval from Brightspeed and Duke Energy for those banners. Other than that, this is all what I have for. Thank you.
And lastly, I wanted to announce that Cybertech, who is now supplying our IT services and support, they have managed to do a great job of fixing up our YouTube recommendations, and they're going to have, as I understand it, Spanish subtitles now. It's unfortunately we're not going to be able to provide subtitles in real time. The technical efforts to do that are going to be, I think, cost prohibitive. But at least we will have the archive that's alone. That's all I have tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No report.
Mr. Dan? All right, okay, so I'm pleased to provide the following updates on activities. Today we had the ERA North Carolina Alliance in the city. It was wonderful. They brought in their Saxon, they call it the oh God. Anyway, they brought the car in. It was 4 young ladies from New York and Washington, D.C. They talked about the ERA, which is the Equal Rights Amendment, what they're trying to do with Amendment 28. to the Constitution of the United States to make sure everything is fair and equality for women and as well as men, but more so women, to make sure we all on an equal playing field. So we had 80 students come from different schools. We had the collegiate here, we had advanced high school, we had Ian Rollins, the community college, early college program, and I want to say another LB Yancey. So the students came, they were all female, they were very excited. We took a lot of photos outside. I think Joey sat in the car, him and Mandy, or was it you and Christy? Yeah, yeah, you and Christy, yeah. They sat in the car. So that was great. That happened today. Last month, I was honored at New Hope Elementary School and served as a keynote speaker for the Black History Program at the early college. Met with department heads about the motorcycle blues event. Met with 3 developers to support affordable housing projects, which was something that was really honed in on at the city retreat that we really need to start developing. So I met with 3 developers that have been engaging with the city since 2023. The P2P Home First Initiative, the Center for Home Ownership, and the DFW out of Pennsylvania. Met me, Taylor, and Christy, and I think Kendrick. Met with some developers to talk about developing some housing that was affordable. I served as a keynote speaker for Shekinah Glory Ministries for the 20th anniversary of Sharon Williams. In honor of Heart Month and in honor of the memory of my father who passed away with a massive heart attack, I completed and received my instructor certification in first aid and CPR through the American Heart Association, where I will be utilizing that for the Mayor's Health and Wellness Initiative to teach our community members free CPR and first aid. Attended the Kittrell Job Corps Council meeting. Mayor Pro Tem was there to coordinate with the Driver for Vote for Equality, continue coordination. Working along with the Medicist, they will be doing an over-the-counter medication distribution on this Friday with free OTCs. Met with community members facing various challenges and brought these issues back to the city manager. Met with the city manager and city attorney on their regular standing meetings on Friday. Spoke with the North Carolina Coalition, Homeless Coalition regarding the ESG funding, the emergency grant funding. Sent that link to Mr. Kendrick. That link is for the city to prepare to apply if the council approves for grant funding from ESG. We've never received funding, but we do have the numbers to prove that we deserve it with the homeless population we have. Met with Carolyn Petaway regarding the Antoine Winbush motorcycle ride. Met with the African American Mayors Association to discuss the remaining grant funds. We have $1,400 left from the effort of the day trading class. And they said that we could use that money for financial literacy. I've been talking with some institutions, banking institutions in our community to see if they will come and teach our community financial literacy and maybe use the rest of that money, if the council agrees, to let people open up bank accounts. Okay. Reached out to 2 different banking institutions, don't want to call their names at this time. Attended the Divine Women Heart to Heart Power Girls event where our little celebrity star Vivi read books to the girls. Coordinated a community crisis. This is a pilot for us on tomorrow. I think Ferguson, are you presenting there? So tomorrow we have partnered with VIA at the library. Tomorrow we have 18 people signed up to participate in the community crisis class, which is free to our community. So I'm thankful for that. I think that's all I had. That's it. Do we have a motion to go in closed session? Motion to go in closed session. Second. We have a motion by Councilwoman Champion and seconded by Councilmember Bennett. Closed session. Motion to adjourn. Okay. Somebody said so moved. Okay, Gary and who seconded?
Second.
You know, Tracy, Gary made the motion to, board meeting.
Mayor.
Council